Today, all engineers have to understand if they are very passionate about aerospace, and so the fundamentals should be very, very strong. When I say fundamental, it should be the strength of materials, which is very, very essential topic or the essential subject, right? So they have to understand the load paths. They have to understand the structures. They have to understand the materials, right? And they have to understand the free body diagrams. So strength of materials, I would say, is the first and foremost thing they have to be conversant with. And at the same time, the engineering mechanics. So the truss structure is how it is built, and then how the connections are done. The more you resist for any changes, the more it becomes difficult. When I say be open to changes means it could be change in the policy, or it could be change in the techniques, or it could be change in the tools. Be open, be adaptable. Embrace the changes because it gives a huge opportunity for you to learn. Understand, delegate things so that your life becomes easier as a project manager, number one. And you also give in the confidence to your team members of inclusiveness, right? So you cannot handle everything by yourself. You're okay, you may be a CEO of a project, but you cannot handle each and everything. So delegate. That's the one thing which you can manage projects efficiently. Acknowledge any mistakes you have done, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn. So acknowledge that mistake. Take this as a lesson learned in your database or whatever it is, and apply for your next task. Nowadays, as per the reports, every project, irrespective of the fields, there is only 35% of the projects are successful, right? And I do not say that 65% of that projects are failing, but it either they have cost overruns or the schedule overruns, or in some manner the project would have got scrapped, or for whatsoever reasons, right? So there is a scope of AI creating impact in this 65% of the gap.
Here I am, bringing you insightful conversations about modern day career opportunities, perspectives, and powerful stories. Welcome to Career Explore. I am your host, Jayakishor Bayadi.
So today we have with us Mr. Pavan Kumar, who has over 20 years of experience in the field of aerospace, who was involved in different roles or functions such as design and analysis, testing, production support, and currently in program management function. Pavan is a PMP certified professional and currently manages aircraft sustainment programs, coordinating end-to-end projects and partner management. He carries wealth of experience working with top aerospace OEMs, where he owned continuous improvement initiatives, led key offshore development centers, and supported strategic business initiatives. Today's podcast is a little more interesting, as we are taking a small detour from our IT project management to understand how project management operates in non-IT areas, basically. So we will going to learn about how this project management or program management happens in aerospace industry based on Pavan's experience. So I hope his learnings and insights will help us understand more about project management and gain an understanding of how it operates in non-IT areas. This is helpful for all of us as professionals to broaden our perspectives. I'm really grateful to Pavan for agreeing to have this conversation, where today we will be discussing about project management and what it takes to become a program manager in the aerospace industry. So Pavan, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for taking time to share your experience. So Pavan, before we begin on, this core project management topics, right? So I'd like to hear from you about your, background, your, current, and about yourself a bit. And additionally, what is that one thing you love most about your job?
First of all, thank you, Jayakishor, for this wonderful podcast. And getting connected with you is always a pleasure. And
Yeah.
also, I really appreciate that you have given this platform to share my experience. So I hope it would be my opinions are purely personal. So this is just a disclaimer, okay?
Yeah.
So I will, of course, I have more than 20 years of experience, and then I carry a lot of experience, and I've worked with various OEMs directly, indirectly. So I can really give a good insights about this particular aerospace field as such. So we'll start with that note. So thanks again, JK. So yeah, talking about my background, I'm a mechanical engineering graduate. So completed in the year, let's say 2000. And how I got into this particular aerospace field is a bit interesting story, I would say.
Yeah, that's great.
Uh, yeah. So immediately after my graduation, those days in late 2000, so there was a dot-com, a boom
Yeah,
everywhere, right?
Hmm.
So all my peers, irrespective of the branch, so everybody were looking towards this lucrative software development. So I was one among them, to be honest. I also did certain, programming, courses, so which would probably enable me to be into that. But luck did not favor because particularly in the software, the much preferred are the computer science graduates, and then after that the electronics and the mechanical, civil, industrial production. So the non IT branches were the second or the third preferred. So it took a little bit time for me to understand this particular fact. So somehow I sailed through that. What happened eventually was I did my project in one of the premier Indian aerospace laboratories during my final year. So then I landed up as a graduate engineering trainee in that with that as a reference. So that's how I began my career. So that's how I started or ventured into this particular aerospace field. So, and from then onwards, as an individual contributor, and I started as a stress analysis engineer, which is very much core into this mechanical. And then along with that, I was also involved in testing of the aerospace components. So that's how I began my career. And then the rest is history. It's sailing through for more than 20 years in this. So I will anyway talk in detail as we go along. But yeah, one thing I love even today when I look back 20 or 21 years, odd years, one thing I still love this job is physically I can see the product, right? So it's an aircraft, it's a product. And the work I do, or any work, or the analysis or the design, so somewhere my the work is tangible. I can see it's being implemented on the product, right? So whichever the aircraft I have worked with, it could be the Airbus or the Bombardier or the Boeing, whatever, or big OEMs, what we mentioned. But sometimes I could physically see them. So that's one thing. Even now, I love this. Even after start of the career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's great to hear. And yeah, I mean, I can recall, you stayed loyal to this, your mechanical engineering field, and you have took the opportunity and you converted, whatever the opportunity actually you got to your advantage, and you moved on to, moved on, and excelled, and and now you are in this, status, or position of your career. So basically, this aerospace industry is very, very interesting. So, I mean, you could have had, multiple opportunities in between. What motivated you to stay in mechanical engineering, or, this particularly this aerospace industry? What motivated you to stay in this in this industry? Obviously, it has given you the rewards, whatever you deserved, and or more than that. You are happy. I can see that, and I know that you're happy with the your growth or whatever it is. So, but can you a little bit explain about one point? What motivated you to
Yeah.
stay in aerospace industry, right?
Yeah. So, as I said, JK, the first and foremost job which I landed up in NAL, right? So, though I would say my money was not the biggest criteria for me at that point of time, but somehow I went into that premier organization. I could see the physical products, the kind of testing they were doing. I was really passionate to see all those, in front of me. Rather than, I also had a brief, as I mentioned to you when I was taking up some software related courses, just sitting in the bench and just doing some coding kind of thing. So here, unlike that, I could see the products there and the testings were being done. So, and then I thought, yeah, this is a field I think I should be, because I should be doing justice to my whatever I have studied. So as I mentioned, the monetary was not a criteria for me, but then I thought, yes, let me continue with this field. And then and also I came to know that there is a very bright future here, and then the aerospace industry is going to grow in India, and then that has motivated me to continue into this particular field.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, as per your vision that time, I mean, there has been a lot of growth in India, especially, I mean, in last 20 years, aerospace industry, it's grown.
Yeah.
I don't know the percentage, but it has grown multifold, and the airports and every district centers, almost not all, I mean, is aiming to have their own airports nowadays. So yeah, that's a great growth India is witnessing nowadays. So okay, so as a mechanical engineer, or aerospace mechanical engineer in aerospace industry, what exactly you do in your current job? You are doing now the program management, project manager job. So from your earlier days, what exactly you did? I mean, you take any one or two roles, basically. I mean, in previously what you have done, and you can take up your current role as well, whatever it is. So, what exactly you do, and what is your typical day in your job?
Okay.
Yeah.
So rather than just getting straight away into the program management where I have to explain what I do, I'll take maybe one or two steps back,
that's
and
great.
then just
Yeah,
try to
makes sense.
explain what I had done, because that is more relevant, could be, because
Yes.
anyway I'll be thinking about the program management down the line. So, a typical, if you say an aerospace engineer or an aeronautical engineer, so both are different anyway. So, if an aeronautical engineer, the day goes like this. See, basically, they are categorized into design and analysis in aerospace, what we call, right? Design is a typical engineer who starts his design activities from the concept and basically into a computer aided design, modeling, basically the modeling point of view. right? He creates the design through any of his tools, or there are plenty of CAD tools where he does the the modeling, uh, and then that goes to the next particular group, let's say the stress engineer, which I was involved. So both work concurrently, right? So our design and analysis both work concurrently. So if you ask me, the stress engineer, what he has to do, so pick up the design or the initial design, what was performed by the designer. So it could be any part, let's say, for an ease of understanding, let me say a cross beam, a beam which is fitted into the any of the aircrafts, so that beam maybe he designs, and then it comes to the stress analysis. So in stress analysis, either there are again multiple ways to handle that particular case. You can do a hand calculation, basically using applying our strength of materials concepts, drawing the free body diagrams, and then do the hand calculations. Otherwise, if the component is slightly complicated or it cannot be handled by calculation, so then we take that model into something called as finite element analysis, where take the design, do the split the whole design into small elements, and then apply the loads, and then you do the stress analysis, right? So this is how has that's how it goes about, right? Each and every component fitted into the aircraft has to undergo all these phases. So every component, I would say the cross beams, or could be the skins, the stringers, or any airframe structures, I would say the wings, the ribs, everything, all airframe structures has to undergo, and there is an integration part of it, so which is bit a bit complicated when it comes to the whole integrity point of view. So this is a typical work in a very, very broad level, what I'm trying to tell, right? So that's, so again, there are multiple iterations. It has to achieve the weight target, the material manufacturability has to be assessed, and the cost has to be at the lowermost, and so all put together, it has to comply with the the regulatory compliances, and so on and so forth. So everything it has to put together. So that's where the typical aerospace projects, or typical the product development in aerospace is very huge. So somewhere between 6 or more than 6 or 7 years from the time of conceptualization till the certification, it is typically it's about 8 years, or is sometimes more than that, right? So that's in a nutshell what a typical aerospace engineer does that. So again, if I go deep into that, then there are various categories, there are various tasks to be done. So this is what I have done in the past, maybe 15 years down, and so that's how I could able to explain in a very broader way.
Yeah. I mean, this is very insightful. I mean, it gave me a kind of a picture of what exactly a day goes in the life of the aerospace engineer, where, like you said, they touch the physical products and they test it, and they and also the because it's an aircraft design, and your manufacturing has to be it's almost near perfect, because it's the components are being used by the flights, and the conditions up in the sky is every now and then is changing, so you have to design the best part, right? So yeah, I mean, it's a great
and safety is the prime most thing in aerospace. So no safety gates can be escaped, so or quality gates, whatever we call. So everything has to be compliant. So that's why I was mentioning the compliance has to be done, and it has to meet all the statutory regulations and requirements. So that's one key thing. Unlike any automobile design, no, it's in the air. So
correct. Yeah. I agree with this, and it's a great point. So, who are your, I mean, the typical, customers, and which industry they belong to, and obviously they belong to aerospace, or the carriers, etc. I mean, I'm not asking the names of the customer, but basically the typical customers you work for, or typically, basically the types of projects you typically carry out. If you
Okay.
give us a little bit about that, so that I can understand the kind of your customer persona. So that's the main thing.
Okay. So in this way, I can explain into two categories, right?
Mhm.
As a one, if I am wearing a service company hat, right? So because I come from the service industry background, so if I belong to the service industry, then my customers would be any of the OEMs, any of the big
Mhm.
OEMs, like
Mhm.
could be Airbus, or could be Boeing, or could be Bombardier, or could be Embraer, or
Mhm.
even it could be our own Indian
Mhm.
firms like HAL or NAL, right?
Mhm.
So they are basically our customers.
Mhm.
Now, what work if we are doing to these customers? Again, it depends on various groups. So it could be the airframe engineering, right? So when I explained to you the design, the stress, the conceptual design of the elements here, and it could also be the interiors work, the cabin interiors, where the seats are designed, the hat tracks are designed, and the galleys are designed. So each airline requirements are a bit different. So that's how it is. So, and then again, it can also go into the electrical harness. So that is again another area where these kind of services are offered, the
Mhm.
electrical harness kind of, and then so on and so forth. So it's just a minuscule what I'm trying to tell you. If I'm in a service industry,
Mhm.
okay, or if I'm wearing a service industry hat. So now if I'm wearing a OEM hat, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So airlines are our customers. So
Mhm.
it could be Air India, it could be Indigo, or it could be SpiceJet, or it could be any airlines like Singapore or Qantas, whatever. So they are our customers. So the customers come to, or even could be the governments, government across the world, because they want the military products, so which is manufactured by the OEMs, the helicopters, the fighter jets, or reconnaissance aircrafts, right? So if I'm wearing the OEM hat, then they are our customers, and then we have to meet their deadlines, or when the product will be delivered, and what level of customization they require, so what configuration they require in their this one, so what kind of model required, so on and so forth, will be decided. So that's how we cater to as a OEM and as a service industry.
Okay. Okay. So, see, if I want to, I'm a mechanical engineering. I think now, even back then, 20 years back, there is a degree of, aerospace, aeronautical
Mm.
engineering field was there actually. So even now, I think that is there, and even most of the mechanical engineers are preferred in the aerospace, industry.
So that's right.
So basically, if as a person, if I'm interested in aircrafts, I mean, it fascinates me. Means, I mean,
Mm.
what is the kind of skills are necessary to be in that technical role? We'll come back to this project management role, but the kind of a role you did, that the testing, designing, all those stuff, right? What is the
Mm.
kind of skill sets one should have, or one should develop to get into this aerospace industry? I mean, if a person is, let's say, he's just entered into a, let's say, engineering, or planning to enter into an engineer, what advice you give to them, if they are fascinated or passionate about this aerospace, aircrafts, all the stuff.
Okay, very good question, JK.
Yeah.
Today, all engineers have to understand, if they are very passionate about aerospace, and so the fundamentals should be very, very strong. When I say fundamental, it should be the strength of materials, which is very, very essential topic or very essential subject, right? So they have to understand the load paths. They have to understand the structures. They have to understand the materials, right? And they have to understand the free body diagrams. So strength of materials, I would say, is the first and foremost thing they have to be conversant with. Okay. Second thing is the engineering drawings. So they should know the engineering drawing, and then how the drawings are interpreted, how the dimensions are marked, right? How the hatching is done, how the section view looks like. So these are very, very important. And at the same time, the engineering mechanics. So the truss structure is how it is built, and then how the connections are done. And they also have to know about the materials, because materials is also one of the key thing. They have to know which material has what kind of strength, and what is the whether it is preferred in aerospace, what is the corrosion level, or what is its density, whether the weight of that material being chosen, whether it fits into the aircraft or not. So that is very key to understand, right? So, and again, I would say the thermal engineering is also key essential. If at all you have to, you are pursuing, let's say, on the propulsion side or the engine side. So where the heat plays very important role. So these are basically at a very top level. I would say they have to be very, very conversant. If at all they are very passionate about the aerospace. So, and then rest all on the job. But to enter, these are very, very essential things.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a great insight. I mean, see, the thing is, if you are passionate about aircraft flying in the airport, aircraft, or if you want to become a pilot, I mean, it takes a lot of effort, right? I mean, whatever you said, it requires a lot of patience and a lot of hard work to study. I can go back to my my engineering days, 20 years back. Okay. Engineering drawing, nowadays I'm not not even, I don't even remember all those stuff. But when you said engineering drawing, the engineering drawing exams, I mean, those were actually the difficult, I mean, not difficult, I mean, the days were actually really fun. And you're still living that life actually. So I shifted my the stream to IT, and nowadays I'm into business analysis, all those stuff. I'll not do the engineering drawing. I do flow chart diagrams, how software should function, all those stuff. It's a little different and little fancy, it sounds basically. So yeah, I mean, but it's also fun. Even if you want to learn, the computer science, it takes good amount of hard work as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a the great insight or great information which you have shared, and I hope our listeners or whoever people are interested in this area, right, will definitely benefit from this. Okay.
And not only that, even if you have to, so these are basically the skills to enter into the aerospace. So again, if you have to diversify your knowledge area, so there are again still more, I would say, in-depth streams, right? So you can go into the propulsion, that is one of the key areas. So you can go into the structures field as such, what I was telling about, right? And there is also a computational fluid dynamics, so which completely deals with the fluid mechanics and design of the aircraft, aerodynamics and other things, and so on and so forth. So if at all, and the most key, important is the fatigue and damage tolerance and widespread fatigue damage. So this is something you in spite of having all these fundamentals, if at all you have to go deeper into each of these areas, this takes a hell lot of time. And then you you become more and more expertise into these, and then you become a subject matter expert. So, and you can even be like a chief engineer, or to that extent. So where everybody have to come to you for the authority, taking the signature authority, whatever we call. So, I would say these are the next level. But fundamentals will remain, should remain strong, and after that, all these things will be like an added advantage.
Yeah, I mean, this is really great. I mean, you covered that aspect. From if you start from the fundamentals of technical stuff, till chief engineer, you can go, and that's the growth. I mean, you have actually also indicated, how the growth can also happen. Yeah, I mean, that's a great insight. Thanks for that. Continuing our discussion, Pavan. So
Yep.
now let's shift into this. Project management or a program management you're doing. Okay, so you are into project management, and you're also a PMI certified project manager now. So being in the aerospace industry, right? I mean, I'm very curious to know, how different it is, managing a project in an aerospace industry, because in typical IT, I know how it works, how we plan all those stuff, but in the things industry, it will change from industry to industry, right? I'm very curious to hear from you. Being in the aerospace industry, what are the typical PM job you're doing, and how it is actually being done.
Okay. So first of all, PMP certification is one of the best thing happened to me, and then I understood that, see, project management, it's a vast field. It's not limited to any particular kind of a job, or it's not limited to any kind of a particular field. So it can be applied to all fields, be it construction, be it aerospace, be it software, be it any railways or automobile, or any, or architecture, or any field it can be applied, right?
Agree.
So what it teaches, the project management, is the scientific approach for a project. So anyway, a project is a very unique, irrespective of field. It has a start date, it has an end date, right? And there is a unique product or a service which is delivered, right? And it has to be managed in a disciplined way, right? So coming to the aerospace, I would say it's the same thing. So we have a project, and it has to be managed. A product has to be delivered, or a service has to be delivered. It starts with the initiation, right? And the rest is like identifying the stakeholders, or identifying the key top level risk, or preparing the project chart and cost benefit analysis. Then the planning goes, then the execution, and the monitoring and control. So what I mean to say is, the principle still applies the same even for the aerospace, right? But only thing, the product is different, and the approach is still remains the same. We have to do the cost benefit analysis, and as soon as there is an inquiry into the project, we have to see whether we have the required skills we have required for that particular requirement, whether we have the resources, whether the tools, whatever we have, is it sufficient, or are we running at some risk by taking this project? So that comprises of the initiation part of it. Then the planning. So once we have the project awarded, then the planning goes like typical project management plan, where we bring in all the risk, then the stakeholders, and then the communication plan, and then the scope management, and everything has to be written on to the program management plan. So and then once the plan is done, or the schedule is done, derived, and the budgets are fixed, it just moves on with the execution. So, and particularly in our project, whatever we are dealing with is the initiation part of it is because we have a continuous I mean, if I take my previous organization as an example, so we were qualified by the OEM, right? So and we used to get once in 2 years or once in 3 years a big request for proposal. So that becomes the initiation part of it. So then you have to make the proposal out of it. So comprising taking everybody into account, right? And then so that is typically for production support of all the aircrafts, right? And then after that, the planning, as I said, the project management plan constitutes our the key cookbook for any of continuing these projects. And then the key thing is monitoring and controlling. So this is where I would say we have to spend a lot of time, because we always have to go back and see whether we are meeting or are we within the budget, or are we within the schedule, or are we within the scope, whatever has been defined. And we have to meet the quality requirements consistently. So there is no on-time delivery or the first time right, whatever we say. So these are the key things which has to be monitored and which has to be reported. And anything getting deviated, then again we have to go back and change the plans. So this is where most of our time is getting let's say spending more time into that once the project begins. So before the project begins, lot of campaigning things goes on, they contacting the customer, then getting some business intelligence as to what is his budget, what is the price he's looking at, then how we can make our estimates tuned to fit into his budget. So all those line of action goes on, and this is a typical project management which is applicable to any industry, irrespective of or rather irrespective of any industry. So and in aerospace also it's the same.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I mean, you have explained it, really well. So I could relate. So, your first point, you can, the difference between the, IT and your aerospace industry is, you can physically touch the product.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so so I can see that how it, happens. So basically, see, in typical in IT projects, right? I mean, we face a lot of challenges. So in challenges, stakeholders, they don't cooperate sometimes. So the requirements are getting evolved, and it gets delayed, all those stuff. So how is it in aerospace industry? I mean, what are the kind of the typical challenges you face, and how what is the kind of the mindset you have to be a program manager there? To resolve that challenges. I mean, first, what is the kind of challenges, and and how do you resolve in industry? Because here, see, for example, if someone, I mean, if my scenario is, if it is correct, you can take it. If some company, some OEM company has promised to deliver 10 aircraft to some company or some country, airlines. So because of some parts not available, the delivery is getting delayed. So it is impacting a lot of plans, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, this is one typical challenge, I mean, which I could imagine. So can you just elaborate on what is the kind of typical challenges when you manage such critical projects, which I could say, and how would you apply your this project management best practices or the logic to resolve them actually?
Okay, again I'll split this into two things. So first, as a being in a service oriented industry, where of course I did the project management task there. And secondly, I'll talk about the OEM, so which I can also where I'm wearing the hat. So being in a service industry, it's a bit different. The challenges are very, very, very different. Okay. So the key challenges I would say is access to the design data. This is one thing, as I know, because as I said, the customers are the OEMs, right? The key top OEMs like Airbus or Bombardier or Boeing or any. So access to their design data is one of the key challenges, because not all OEMs will be ready to give their proprietary designs to us. Okay. So until and unless you have a NDA signed, and then the biggest challenge is you have to give them the confidence that your data is safe or your design data is safe. So for that, we need to set up a separate development center where the accesses are restricted to the people, and you have to the people or the team members who are nominated for this project has to sign the NDA, and then their background checks are done, and then there is a restricted movement about anything. So this is one key thing as a challenge what we see, right? And the second, I would say, the stringent timelines, because the OEMs doesn't spare the suppliers, because there is a lot of competition, right? And then if you say, boss, you cannot deliver within 1 year, then I have 3-4 other suppliers who can do this, right? So I would say the stringent timelines is also one of the key challenges, because as I said, the tools, particularly the tools required to carry out all these tasks, right? The software tools are very, very expensive, right? And that cannot be affordable to have one-on-one. So there should be a proper distribution of the tools, and then the proper time management, and the shifts have to be arranged accordingly. So that is one of the key challenges, how efficient we are, right? And other things are, as I said, the export control compliance also plays a very key thing. So these are some of the typical challenges what we face being in a service industry, right? And the cost or the budget is very, very tight. The resources have to be used optimally. When I say resources, it could be human resources, or it could be the infrastructure, whatever we have, like software, and then managing in shifts, and so on and so forth. So this is about the service industry. So when I talk about the OEMs, so again, the committed dates, when you say to XYZ airline, I'm giving some 20 aircrafts on these dates. So otherwise, if you don't deliver, there are huge penalties.
Oh, okay.
Very huge. The penalties are very huge. You cannot afford.
Okay.
So that is a key challenge. And second is the government regulations keeps changing. Right. So just an example. So suddenly, let's say a Western country or some FAA or Federal Aviation Authority or the EASA who actually regulates the most of the aerospace. So they say suddenly comes up with some regulatory that you cannot put the one part or this one, or supply this one component to some country, some Syria or Lebanon, whatever it is, right? So you cannot do that. You cannot export to that. So the regulatory systems are so harsh that you need to keep an eye on each and everything.
Yeah. It's really,
thirdly, as you said, even the supply chain is a very, very challenging nowadays, particularly after the COVID pandemic. The supply chain has really gone worst. There is a huge disruption in the parts being supplied, and there is a very huge gap in demand and supply. So because of, until and unless you get the critical parts, you cannot deliver, or you cannot integrate in the aircraft, and eventually you are slipping the dates, and you are paying the huge penalties to the airliners. And airliners in turn, they are waiting for the aircraft, because they would have factored their revenue, and they would have planned their schedules accordingly, right? So it's a chain system. It's particularly for OEMs, the supply chain is the biggest challenge, and the regulatory requirements. Every now and then, the US regulatory or the European airworthiness regulatory, they keeps changing, and this really becomes a challenging for them. So overcoming this one is, as a OEM, you have to diversify the supplier base, because you have to keep looking for the new vendors who can deliver the same parts with the same kind of quality on time. So but it takes time. It's not so easy. It takes time. You need to build that trust. The vendor has to build the trust with the OEMs, which takes the lead time is very huge. And this is the only way it can overcome as an OEM. And with the service industry, how we can overcome the situation is, again, upgrading the skills of the engineers to manage efficiently. And then again, the business development or the sales guys who are there, so then need to really be transparent with the OEMs, that what they have to explain clearly what it takes to deliver, and so that they cannot imply too much of stringent rules, or the budgets, they should be a little bit liberal. So that's how it can be managed.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, these are the real great insights. See, I mean, in software industry, I mean, in IT, especially in critical industries like banking or insurances, etc. There are critical such situations are there, penalties, all those stuff, because anything that actually deals with the the life and death situations, right? That will have such situations. So like you said, aerospace is security needs to be paramount, because it is up in the air. Aircraft is up in the air. Any slight thing, any small mistake can cost huge hundreds of lives. So in software also, in critical projects, it is the same. I mean, the wrong data going in, right, it will create basically some loss to the respective people, right? So I mean it's a but it's really interesting to understand all this, how these kind of challenges are being managed in this competitive situations, and it's really interesting. So when you're in a kind of a what is the kind of as a project manager, right? I mean, leave aside your the airline stuff. So when you're dealing with the kind of a pressure, or dealing with the kind of a challenge, right? I mean, what is the kind of a mindset you have to what is the kind of advice you want to give your peer project managers, or which I can learn from you, that how calmly, or what is that tactic you implement, you use to handle that situation. Okay, so here is a situation, so now there is a choice you can make. You can get worried about it, and you get into a deep thing, right? And all, you can actually be pragmatic, and you can find a solution for it. So how do you go about that from a mindset standpoint? What do you, as a program manager, what is the kind of mindset one should have?
See, key thing is be open to changes. This is one thing I would see, because the more you resist for any changes, the more it becomes difficult. When I say be open to changes, means it could be change in the policy, or it could be change in the techniques, or it could be change in the tools. Be open, be adaptable. Embrace the changes, because it gives a huge opportunity for you to learn. Right? So, and second thing is, in a project management or a program management, you should be a good delegator. Means understand, delegate things, so that your life becomes easier as a project manager, number one. And you also giving the confidence to your team members of inclusiveness, right? So you cannot handle everything by yourself. Okay, you may be a CEO of a project, but you cannot handle each and everything. So delegate. That's the one thing which you can manage projects efficiently, and your team members or your people will also feel empowered, right? So these are the key things I would say that in program management, these are the two key things. And thirdly, uh, be open in communication, reach out to other project team or other peers or your counterparts, have a formal informal discussion how it's going in there and what is that kind of a bad things going on and how did they come up with. So be open in communication so that you will learn a lot from them. And fourth thing I would like to mention, this acknowledge any mistakes you have done, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn. So acknowledge that mistake, take this as a lesson learned in your database or whatever it is, and apply for your next task. So these are the four things every project manager or a program manager should remember to make his project a success.
Yeah, I mean, these four things are, I mean, really, really great, and it's absolutely, spot on. Thanks for sharing that. So, moving on, now if someone wants to be like you, I mean, especially in the program management space, so how one can explore career in your space, like maybe in aerospace, can from another industry like me, I'm working in IT. So now, because I have some passion in aerospace, so can I become a project manager or in aerospace, or do they prefer some experience in aerospace? Then only they can become a project manager there. How it typically think. This is one scenario, and in another scenario, typically a person in the aerospace industry itself who has been doing roles like you, and he wants to move into project management now. So how he can become? So two scenarios. Will you be able to give us some lights on this?
Okay, so I'll come to the second scenario. First scenario, a person with no experience in aircraft, aerospace can enter into this. Not into the projects, I would say, directly, because it requires certain level of understanding. As I said, when I started my career after graduation, so I have gone through, I have understood these fundamentals and applied the same. So that's how I, stepped into different roles and worn different kind of shoes into that and managed the project. So now, at this point of time, if somebody wants to be in a senior position or uh, handling the aerospace projects, again he has to start from the scratch.
Yeah, scratch. Yeah,
that's not possible, I would say, because as I said, the fundamentals has to be it's the key.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah, I agree.
And again, now moving to the program management, as I said, I already spoke to you that a person, if he wants to, once he is good, has a good hold of the fundamentals, then he can diversify into different streams like propulsion or structures, or so he becomes a SME. So at the same point, there is an alternative way that a person who already has a good fundamentals and then who has more inclination towards people management or the management. So like me, how I have come. So you can get into the management courses, like you can do the MBA or take up this PMP certification. So which gives you a confidence to manage a project, and particularly aerospace project, because you have come from that background, and it becomes easy for you to understand. When once a project is there, all nitty gritties of it. So even in case you don't know certain topic, then you know whom to approach. So which SME you can approach, or because you understand the core aerospace, you understand, so you know to whom to reach out to, right? So
Yeah.
whereas the person without this knowledge, it becomes really difficult.
Yes. Yes.
So that might not be possible uh, in a first this one. And sorry, the second question was something you asked.
No, the second question is, when you are in an industry, you are in aerospace industry, and you want to become a project manager like you. I think you have answered that. So basically,
Yeah, I have answered. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That is
So
the only
yeah.
two
So one is
scenarios.
the SME way, subject matter expert way,
Mm.
where you diversify your skills. You don't want to handle people, or you only are concerned with your own stream, fatigue or damage tolerance, or propulsion or structures, or CFD. So you become a subject matter expert, right? And so that has got its own level of importance, definitely. And then so it has its own benefits and other things. But if an aerospace engineer wants to become a program manager, yeah, then he has to follow this. He has to basically develop the people management skills, right? And project management, again, it's an, I would say, it's an art and science of
Great.
managing.
Yeah.
So the art is something which you inherit yourself, by way of communicating, how good you are in influencing skills, and how best you manage the stakeholders. So these are all something kind of an art. Science, anyway, you would have learned from your PMP, basically the practices, whatever you do. So if you follow the rule book of the PMP or the principles of PMP, then that becomes a science. So the art is how well you are connected with the people, how emotionally you are connected, and how you can talk to the people, communicate with them, how open you are. So all these things comprises of both comprises of the good project manager, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. These are actually really great, insights. I mean, really thankful for sharing that. So, what is the kind of a future scope of your kind of a job title, and what is the kind of a project, the career trajectory typically happens. For example, now you are a program manager. What is the next step, next level, and also what is the kind of the scope which you think for your kind of roles?
Well, from here on, if you want to diversify, you can get into the VP level, the vice president level, managing different portfolios. And then you can, after that, you can become a director, owning a whole of the business unit as such. And then you can become this CTO, that is a chief technology officer. So and then it takes its own time. You have to prove at each and every responsibility what you are given, and then after that, up to you. How you want to become, or become like a consultant. I think by this time you would have already crossed 50 plus or 55 plus.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
retirement
that's
time
again
is.
up to you how you want to.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I would say by this time, if you have a good hold, then you can open your own company, and become a entrepreneur as well. Of
Okay.
course, you can do it at any point of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
agree.
but then that's how it goes. Now
Okay.
nowadays there's plenty of scope, particularly for the manufacturing, because India is recognized because after the pandemic, not much of the West is, particularly the West, are not trusting China. So there is a huge opportunity for the Indian community to venture into the manufacturing, who can supply the parts to the aerospace OEMs. So there's a very big opportunity, but then again, it needs a lot of investment and a lot of government contacts and other things. So yeah, that's how one is, if really is interested, he can venture into this, he or she.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's a great point. Yeah. So let's move on. Uh, so if you're a program manager or a project manager, right? What is the kind of now I'm not asking exact the salary or the thing, but what is the kind of a range in your industry? Okay, so that for a senior program manager from for a 15 years old experience or 15, 20 plus years of experience, what is the kind of a range from here to here? No.
See, Jay, it depends on, again, the service industry and the OEMs. Typically, I would say at the entry level, you can, in service industry, let's take about between 5 to 7 lakhs, I would say, the entry level. And if it is OEM, then probably 10 to 12 lakhs CTC could be expected. And then it's a thumb rule. Somehow, somewhere, when in my previous company, I had an interaction with my HR. So he was quoting like your experience, the number of years of experience into 2 times. For example, let's say if you have a 10 years of experience, core experience in aerospace, probably you'll be earning somewhere around 20 lakhs. Like if you have experience of, let's say, 15 years of experience, probably you'll be earning somewhere around 30 lakhs. So something like that. So 2x times. It's not, I would say, it again depends from service to OEMs and then how best you negotiate. But this is I would say the typical range of what you can expect. So be it a program manager or be it the subject matter expert or whatever. So this is what you can expect in aerospace.
Okay, great. So I mean, we have been hearing about this AI, right? I mean, AI is the new reality, right? So yeah, I mean, it is not. I mean, it is actually revolutionizing the entire industry ecosystem. So what is the impact of AI in your industry for project management, as well as when you consider it as a whole as an industry in aerospace? What is the impact of AI you are seeing? The benefits or the any negative impacts are you seeing right now?
AI, we have been hearing about this AI. For sure, it is going to come in aerospace industry. For sure, it has already come. And if we look at from the program or project management point of view, I would say there would be an impact down the line. They say nowadays, as per the reports, every project, irrespective of the fields, there is only 35% of the projects are successful, right? And I do not say that 65% of that projects are failing, but it either they have cost overruns or the schedule overruns, or in some manner the project would have got scrapped or for whatsoever reasons, right? So there is a scope of AI creating impact in this 65% of the gap, right? So now how it can impact? Yes, maybe nowadays we have been handling the Excel sheets to maybe tracking, right? AI can make some automated tools we can deploy, and then which can track automatically, and then once it is connected to, let's say, some app, then it will give us some notification or some alerts, right? And the monitoring and control becomes easy. And then let's say even AI can be implemented in identifying the projects. The cost benefit analysis can be done. And based on the previous same kind of project what has been done, and the planning nowadays implementing the AI, the planning part of it could be minimized, the time consumed can be minimized, and the repeated tasks, whatever the repeated task can be minimized using the AI. So I see definitely AI will have an impact that will have a positive impact. I wouldn't say it'll definitely have a positive impact, but we need to be prepared for that, right? And then for sure the project manager or the program manager's job will remain intact, because you need us accountability, or you need a person to manage the project.
Yeah, correct.
All these AI tools and whatever we are talking about, so they will only minimize this the failure rates of the project. But project or the program manager is required, because somebody has to own the project, somebody has to run the project, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, these are actually I would say, the golden words. I mean, somebody has to own the things, right? I mean, otherwise things won't run. Somebody has to be accountable. Somebody has to own the things.
exactly,
So
own the things.
yeah. I mean, that's really thing. So now, coming to the last question, the top two advice for aspiring project managers in the aerospace industry. What is your, based on your experience so far, 20 plus years, two advices? It could be your learnings or anything. I mean, two advice you want to give.
See, I mentioned about this, I guess. Be receptive to changes. Be adaptive. It could be tool, or it could be process, or it could be methods. Be open to learning. So that's how you can learn, and that's how you can progress further.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
So this is one thing. And the second thing is, again, the same thing also I mentioned. Acknowledge the mistakes, whatever you have done, or it can happen, and take them as a lesson learned, so that you don't commit that once again. And then you become a resilient. You can always bounce back, you see. So these are the two key advices I would like to give to any project or program managers.
Yeah. One last question I actually forgot to ask. This to be in a, see, for example, to survive in a job, right? You need to continuously learn, right? I mean, otherwise you can become obsolete anytime. So how do you upgrade yourself every now and then to keep yourself, up to date in this job? What is that continuous skill enhancement skill one should need? If you can quickly tell me about that. I mean, how do you upgrade yourself?
See, again, as I said, program management is a vast subject, right? And there are many tools which you can learn. So yesterday I was using Excel. So today I'm using, let's say, Microsoft Project for my scheduling, MSP, right? So tomorrow I may use Milestones Professional, right? So that's how I upgrade with the tools. Now, coming to the, let's say, even for the financial tracking, the earned value management. So I may be using some Excel, right, with my own calculations. So I can develop my own, using macros or something like that. So with the tools, or maybe there are some other tools which are available. So you can use that. And for the tracking, I heard about this Jira, and then the Power BIs, which can create a nice dashboards. As a program manager, you can prepare nice reports, and then present it in front of the leadership team, so who can be impressed with that. And then again, using just keep updating yourself with the latest trends, I would say. And then be open and have discussion, and create a community, I mean, with the like-minded. So you have a lot of groups, in PMI organization itself, they have a lot of local chapters. So have a tie-up with them, so that where the industry is running, what are the trends going on. So keep updated yourself. Otherwise, definitely there'll be an obsolete. And again, once you are done with this, probably there are other fields like supply chain, which is again most happening thing. And then there are sales and marketing, because this industry, so you can jump back, go into that field as well. So you can keep your career options open to move into these kind of progression as well.
Yeah, I mean, these were actually, really insightful suggestions. So, Pavan, thank you so much for spending, this 1 hour. I think we have covered more than 1 hour, and it was really interesting conversation. And in fact, I have got a lot of, the sparkling moments in my mind, because I understood how things happen in other industry and the learnings, and also from you those four things which every project manager, managers or program managers should keep in mind. Those are all valuable insights one can learn from this discussion. And yeah, I mean, for me, this was quite insightful, and I hope this was a quite insightful discussion for others as well, who were actually watched this particular podcast till now. And I would like to thank you so much. Thank you for this. For spending more than 1 hour with me on this podcast. And I would wish you all the best in your further or future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jay, and it was really wonderful, having this really good worth of conversation,
Yeah.
and I really enjoyed.
Mm.
And yeah, see you soon.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot,
sure.
Jay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.